why I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? If you guys have ever been really angry, sometimes it just makes you want to punch a pillow or call your mom and cry, but sometimes it's the catalyst for change. And for me, 5 years ago, I had a health scare. And it was just the first time I'd ever really come to grips with the fact that I am not invincible and I'm not going to be around forever, and maybe I need to start taking care of myself a little bit. And the feeling that really came over me when that happened was anger. I was angry at myself for not having taken care of myself. I was angry at sort of just not having been told that at some point, you can't just eat a burger for breakfast and call it a day. I grew up very much a nerd, and I really lived in my head as a kid. And it was basically from the neck down. I didn't know if I was a cat or a snowman or a robot. I could have been anything. I had no idea, because I just didn't have that connection. So once I had this health scare, I kind of had to pull it together myself. And I decided the best way to do that was to just start, going outside and getting active. So I started walking, and then I realized that walking is actually not that different from running. So I started running, and I realized that as I was running, I was actually burning some calories, and miraculously things started getting looser on me, and I was like, oh, this is a weird feeling of like not having to suck in my gut when I zip up my pants. So it was a really good feeling for me, and then I basically just started getting to the point where, having come from a place where I wasn't comfortable ever sweating, I got like too comfortable sweating. So I'd start like not getting invited to brunch because people knew that like I was gonna work out and then go straight to brunch because I was like kind of in love with myself and like glimmering with sweat. And people were like, yeah, I kind of don't want to eat around that. And I was like, no, but I'm like salty. I can salt your eggs with a salty sweat. And they're like, no, that's not as cute as you think it is. I'm like, whatever, haters. So I ended up figuring after about 6 months of really kind of losing weight, feeling better, feeling healthy, that I was like, I want a challenge. I really want to aim towards something. So I was like, I've only been exercising for about 6 months. I feel like I'm ready for a triathlon. So I was like, that can't be that hard, right? Like I already know how to run, like that's fine. But now I have to learn how to swim and bike. So I was like, okay, well let me first figure out the biking part, because I feel like the biking part is the most complicated because there's an apparatus. But there's that whole idiom about you never forget how to ride a bike. I don't know who came up with that. It's such a lie, total lie. So I hadn't ridden a bike since I was like 8 years old and basically impervious to pain. Somewhere in the intervening years, I could look at a bike and I'd break out in bruises. So I was a little nervous, but there's some really good bike stores in the area, in the DC area. And so I went to a bike store and I was like, I just need to pick out a bike and I'll get on it and muscle memory will drive me forward. So I walk into a bike store and I see these bikes that are as thin as a blade and I'm like, not that please, that's super hardcore. It's like I don't have a degree in Cirque du Soleil, so I can't make this work. So I go to a person who manages the bike store, and I was like, you can tell I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me? And he said, yeah, we're gonna have you try a couple of bikes and you can go out and try them out in the alley. So we picked out a bike and we go in the alley, and he's like, I'm gonna ride with you, just to make sure you don't like drive off with a bike. So I get on the bike and I go straight into a wall. And I'm like, no, I got it. So I get on the bike again and I again go straight into the wall. And he looks at me and goes, I'm gonna go back in the store because I gotta manage some customers, and he knew I wasn't gonna ride off with a bike. So I kind of like totter through the alley, and I'm like, I feel like I can get this figured out. I'm just under a lot of pressure right now. So I go into the store and I'm just like, just charge it. And it's like $800 later, I'm like, I'm really committed to this triathlon now. Like this is actually happening. So he's like, well, if you're gonna train for this triathlon, because I explained the whole thing, you're also gonna need a helmet, but we don't really have any helmets your size right now. And I was like, oh, well, I feel like I should come back for a properly fitting helmet. But the problem was, when I walked into the bike shop, it was like a month and a half before the triathlon. So I was like, I kind of don't have any days to waste. And he's like, oh, okay, so you're riding into a wall, but you're gonna do a triathlon in 6 weeks. Well, you're definitely gonna need a helmet, and I'm just gonna give you a big one. So he gives me a helmet that makes me look like the mushroom from Super Mario Brothers. But I was like, okay, as long as it protects my head, I feel like it's fine. I'm not concerned about how I look, it's about how I feel and perform. So I'm so unconcerned with how I look that I take the bike out and I put it on a bus because I can't bike home because I'm riding the walls. So I put the bike on a bus, but I'm like riding the bus with my helmet still on. So I'm just kind of like riding the bus without a bike, and I've got my big old helmet on, and I'm just like, yeah, I totally look like a triathlete. What could go wrong? But when I get home, I take the bike off, and I just, I muscle through it. I can only go like 100 feet and then 200 feet, but within a week, just from sheer perseverance and expense, because again, that bike was really expensive, I went ahead and I ended up doing 2 miles and 5 miles, and then I was biking 10 to 15 miles regularly. I think the other thing that helped actually was that I gave my bike a name. Since it was a white bike, I named it Blanche Devereaux, which is my favorite Golden Girl. And I was like, when I go out biking, it's like 2 old ladies out in the town just having fun. So it felt like I had a friend with me. So then, I've basically conquered biking. We're good. And so now I have to do the swimming too, right? And we have to do all three, the swim, bike, and the run. So there's a gym that I go to, and I started going to the pool. But before I even was able to get into the pool, I had to conquer one of my biggest adversaries, which was the bathing suit. Because normally I dress like an old Italian lady, so I was like, how am I gonna get myself into something that shows like my everything? So I basically just went to a Speedo store and I was like, what's the most church appropriate swimsuit you can give me? Like it would go, like I could wear a hat and it wouldn't look weird. And they're like, we're just gonna give you like basically like a sackcloth and you should be fine. So I was like, all right, so I took my sackcloth to the gym, to the pool, and I kind of like gingerly lowered myself into the pool, and I kind of wet my hair, and I haven't been in a pool in a really long time, but I was like, again, I took swimming lessons when I was 4, and I feel like I should be totally cool with this. But the lifeguard disagrees, and he looks at me and he's like, yeah, you're the person who's almost gonna die today, and I'm gonna have to save you. So he puts his book down, and he's just kind of watching me, and I, immediately I'm like, Michael Phelps, I can do this. So I start front crawling, and I immediately inhale like way more than my own lung capacity of water, and I start sputtering. So as I'm sputtering, I look at the lifeguard who's like kind of out of his chair, but like he's not gonna make more of an effort than he has to. So he's like, if she can figure out that she can stand because it's only 4 feet of water, I feel like she's gonna be okay. So I'm like, ah! Okay, and then like I find my feet, and I'm like, so good. So I'm like, maybe I can just get like a running start in the pool, which is also not how swimming works. So I eventually kind of did this thing where I was like walk front crawling. Wasn't the most elegant thing that ever happened, but I eventually started to front crawl. But what was even better is that I realized you can actually swim on your back. And what's great about that is that you don't have to worry about breathing because you're always breathing. And I was like, this is great, because the thing I was most scared of was drowning in a 4-foot deep pool in front of this like hot lifeguard who's super judging me, and now I don't even have to worry about it because I'm just, I'm backstroking. This is great. So I felt like at that time, I really had to conquer a lot of my own sort of preconceived notions about myself and use that anger that I had at the beginning of this whole journey to really, trust myself and push myself forward. And the other thing with the triathlon, which was a big deal, was that the triathlon was actually the same day as I had gotten this kind of health diagnosis that really scared me. And the triathlon was also in Chicago, where I have a lot of really good friends who care about me and wanted me to do well. So I felt like I could technically swim, bike, and run, but at the same time I kind of just wanted a little bit more advice, just because it couldn't possibly be that easy, and it's not. So another thing I did was I went to what's called a transition clinic. And the idea there is that, you're not gonna go biking in your wetsuit, right? You need to go to an area, take off your wetsuit, put on your other clothes, if you have biking shorts, and then get your bike and go. So there are a lot of logistics, related to the actual triathlon. So I went to this transition clinic, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm totally unprepared, because they're talking about body glide, and they're talking about, Cliff bars and gel shots, and it sounded like I was going to the army. It was super, super hardcore. And they're talking about chafing, and I was like, nobody told me about chafing. I don't really want to do this chafing thing. So, basically there were all these accessories for all these unintended things that I wasn't really prepared for. So I'm kind of freaking out. But they did mention the wetsuit, so I was like, okay, at the very least, if I can just buy my way through this, I'm just gonna buy whatever they put in front of me, I'll be fine. So I'm charging the entire triathlon to my credit card and still paying it off 5 years later. So, now I land in Chicago. I'm in Chicago, I've got my bike, I've got all the things that I need, and I'm ready to do this. 3:30 in the morning, I wake up, and I take the train downtown. I don't know why I didn't just stay downtown. I was just like, I just wanted to make it like a decathlon for myself. It was just like the Chicago Transit's gonna be one thing, and like avoiding the scary homeless guy is gonna be another event. So then I land at the transition area, and I set myself up, and I've got the wetsuit on, I've got the body glide, and I'm like putting it everywhere, like, you're not gonna see me chafe. If anything, you're not gonna see me chafe during this triathlon. So it's about 5 in the morning, and I go to the chute. The chute is the area where they're gonna put you all in for the swim. And I'm super excited. I'm like, it's pitch black. I'm commuting with like all these other people who are athletic. I've made it through my journey. I really have a lot of just respect for myself and love for myself for having done this. And then I realized 5 minutes before I go in the water that my wetsuit is on backwards. So I just start freaking out, and I'm just shaking, and I'm like, am I gonna drown? I don't know what this means. I don't know, like my zipper's in the front, like nobody else's zipper's in the front, I don't know what to do. So I'm the only person twitching, like I'm like vibrating like a quasar now. And people are just looking at me like, what is her damage? And I'm like, guys, I don't know what's going on, but my wetsuit's on backwards, and I don't know if that's gonna be okay. So one person just takes me by the shoulders and pulls my shoulders back, and somebody just strips me. I have clothes underneath. You have clothes underneath. I should have explained that, sorry. I didn't mean to put that image in your head. Okay, so I have clothes underneath, but somebody just strips me. And another person's talking to me, right? Like, you're gonna be fine, don't worry about it. And somebody's putting my legs in the wetsuit and pulling the wetsuit up. Another person goes, you know what? I just say don't worry about how long a time it takes, because the longer it takes, the longer you have time to enjoy it. And I'm like, that's awesome. Another woman's like, I pee in my wetsuit all the time. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know what you think is happening, or like why you wanted to volunteer that to me. But I feel like I know what you're going to be doing during the triathlon. So stay away from you. And so the wetsuit, without me even knowing it, comes up over my arms, and somebody zips me up in the back. And I felt like it was that scene in the Disney movie Cinderella, where the mice, like the woodland creatures, are putting her in a ball gown, but instead of a ball gown, it's like a really like not attractive wetsuit. But it felt really good. It felt like these woodland creatures are behind me, and the lifeguard was behind me, and he really wanted me to do it. I felt like this is a group effort to get me in the water. So right when I get the wetsuit on, I go into the water. We're all there are like 50 people per section. We're all waiting to go, right? And the thing is also, when you're the water, meaning Lake Michigan. So I've been training in a pool, and now I'm in Lake Michigan, so like there's nowhere to stand. So I'm just kind of like, oh, now I have to like paddle my feet, and this is getting really crazy, and it's super dark. But I still felt like I'd done a good job, and I kind of felt this calm come over me. And I look out in front of the water, and I say, I'm gonna make you my bitch. Now I don't normally talk like that, and so I don't know what happened, I just went to beast mode. The thing is, a lot of people turned around and looked at me because I actually said that out loud. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was just talking to the lake. Like, me and the lake were having this moment. And I was not talking to you. You guys are going to be fine. It's just, I just want to let Lake Michigan know who's the boss. So that made me feel really good about myself. And so then the buzzer goes. The buzzer goes, and everybody just starts propelling themselves forward. In the transition clinic, what they had told me was, if you don't think that you're a strong swimmer, stay back. Just give people a little bit of room to just fan out, and then they go forward, and then you go. Well, the problem is that like apparently none of us were good swimmers, so the fanning out didn't happen, and it was just like a whole bunch of like legs and arms, and it was just like catfish. It was just super crazy. But then the second thing was, I was like, okay, even if this happens, I'm just gonna go forward, even though it's like a mishmash of limbs. Because another thing they told us during the transition clinic is that get ready to get hit in the face, and I was like, okay, I feel like that's good life advice, but I mean, okay, I'll do that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be ready to get hit in the face. So nobody kicked me or hit me in the face, but I just start moving, and I see a lot of white water, and I can't, it's pitch black, I can't see anything. So what do? I flip on my back and I backstroke. The problem was that when I was backstroking, I ended up being the person who was like kicking people in the face. Because one thing I didn't realize is that whole thing about breathing is great, but you can't see where you're going. So I hadn't really practiced sighting because I was in a pool and I wasn't ready for this. So I'm just apologizing. I'm just swimming, and I'm like, I'm really sorry if I kicked you in the face. It's my first time. I'm having a good time. You having a good time? I'm so sorry. So people were nice about it. The other thing is I was really close to the pier, because I was like, if somebody has to pull me out, I want to be close to the pier so like I won't die. So it goes to the pier, but there are all these spectators, so they're looking down and they're like going woo at me, and I'm responding, and it just felt like this really great moment. So I'm like punching someone in the face, and I'm like, can you tell that person I'm sorry? But it was really great, and I ended up feeling like, I had accomplished something. I kept, looking at the lifeguards, and I'm like, lifeguards, you're not gonna have to save me, and they're like, great, because we weren't really gonna make an effort. We've got other people to worry about. And then finally, I flip over and I see this buoy, not like a boy, but a buoy, like a big orange thing. And so I was like, oh my God, that's where, I'm done with the first leg, I've got the buoy. So I swim around the buoy and I come out, and I don't know why, it's the same beast mode that told me to talk to Lake Michigan all creepy. And I just get out and I start yelling at the spectators. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing! And they're scared because usually people come out of the water and they can't breathe. And I'm yelling at them, and they're like, why are you angry at us? We were supporting you the whole time. And I'm like, this is my happy. When I turn into a bear. So, but it was great. And so then I run to the bike. The bike is totally fine. Me and Blanche go, and we, have a great night in Miami and come home, tell stories. And then I go and I run in and I finish the triathlon. And it was just one of the most exhilarating, amazing moments of my life. That was until I checked my time and sort of my ranking in the triathlon. So Mayor Rahm Emanuel busted me, by a lot. He totally kicked my ass, which is fine, because Rahm Emanuel is also a monster, a physical monster, he's amazing. But the other thing was, I looked at my time and I was right under 3 women who were twice as old as me. They were 66 years old. And I was like, okay, that's pretty humbling, but then I was also like, you know what? I'm gonna keep doing this till I'm 66. And when these women are 99, they're probably still gonna bust me, but it's gonna be amazing, and maybe I'll help them into their wetsuits. So thank you guys.